Hello and welcome along to the PPW pod, bringing you news, views, and interviews from the world of real estate marketplaces and prop tech. You can find us on YouTube, on iTunes, on Spotify, on Amazon, and on Google Podcasts. And if you find us on those platforms, please make sure to do all those things that podcasters always tell you to do. Like us, subscribe to us, leave us a comment. For today's conversation, we're a little bit self-indulgent. We're going to be talking about what we believe is the most important event in our industry, which is Property Portal Watch. And I'm glad to say I'm joined by the founder of Property Portal Watch, Simon Baker. How are you doing, Simon?
I'm very well, thanks. Thanks, Ed. And good to see you, James.
And
you too.
By a man who probably doesn't need much introduction for most of our audience, but I will introduce it anyway. He's been described as Mr. Property Portal Watch. He's currently the Director of Commercial at iovox. But he's also worked for a long time at REA Group. He's worked with us before. James Gray, how are you doing?
Hi, guys. Good to see you both. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, James. Thanks for joining us.
No problem. So for people who maybe aren't aware, could you kind of give us a little bit of a background of how you know Simon and how it is that you've come to be present at just about every Property Portal Watch conference for the last 15 years?
Well, I'll try and summarize the last 25 years shortly and succinctly. I was working at REA Group in 2000 when Simon joined the business and stayed there for 13 or so years in various positions. And on leaving REA, I rejoined Simon at Classified Adventures at that time, which was the owner of Property Portal Watch, which later became Online Marketplaces, etc., etc. So, and during that time, we did a variety of different things. Launch businesses, close businesses, consulted to businesses, etc., etc. So yes, during that tenure, I was spending a lot of time at the various events around the world, and about 2 years ago now, relocated from Australia and moved to UK firstly, and now in Madrid to head up the commercial side for iovox.
Okay, so a man who has worked with Simon for a long time, knows Simon very well. We'll maybe try and get an anecdote or two out of you at the end. But the reason we're talking about this subject now today is because we've got a Property Portal Watch coming up very soon. Simon, why don't you tell us about the latest installment of Property Portal Watch? What can people expect?
Sure. The PPW conference, where we're actually sort of in the process of rebranding from Property Portal Watch to Prop Tech and Property Portal Watch, purely because we want to expand the range of people that we have coming to the conference. And I think in reality, Property Portals is just a subset of prop tech. So let's, and there's more and more bleed between the two. And if you think of something like what an iovox does, for example, when call tracking technology, that is very, very useful, not only just from a prop tech perspective, but also for property portals. So the conference runs on the 13th and 14th of March this year in Bangkok. We run 2 or 3 conferences a year. The next one coming up is the Asia Pacific one. And we'll have around 180, 200 C-level leaders from around the world. We're well in the hundreds now already registered. We have 2 full days of presentations, discussions, where the leaders share their real life experiences. And it's all under the topic of the next gen prop tech and marketplaces. What we're really keen to explore and understand is what does the future look like, and how can those companies who attend benefit from understanding this and accelerate their businesses. And clearly topics such as AI will be very core in that discussion. And the other thing we're doing this year that is new is on the Tuesday, the 12th of March, the day before, we're running a startup day. And this startup day is where we are running a hands-on workshop for startups to discuss what it takes to really build a robust business, looking at everything from capital raising to dealing with shareholders to how to think about your business plan, what are the KPIs to track, and so on. And that's going to be run by my investment fund called Fusion 4 Ventures, and with PropTech Farm, run by Frederick Bergman. So the two of us are joining together to provide a real hands-on day, and we'd like to encourage everyone to, who especially startups, to come to the Tuesday the 12th. Now, a question for James. I mean, you've been to, I think we've done 30, I keep losing track, 36, 37 or 38 of these around the world over the last now 15 years. You've been to, I would guess, most of them. What, from your perspective, what is it that, as both an attendee and a sponsor, you get out of it?
Yeah, I think it's very important that you do try and separate the two. So from a personal perspective, I think it's just visibility across what's happening. And I think it's interesting how it's evolved over the years, because I think in the earlier days, people were very restrictive about what they shared. I think, you had often competitors in the room, so it was very much sort of glossing over the top, if you like. But I think what you've successfully done is built an ecosystem from a number of perspectives, but an ecosystem whereby people are open to sharing. Most of the information is public anyway. And I think from a personal perspective, you just get an understanding, I suppose, of what people have tried since you met them last. And often if you go along to enough of these, you see new companies emerge or established ones that highlight the fact that they're about to embark on a new initiative or a new journey. And then you have the benefit of catching up with them 12 months later, and often you hear, did it succeed or did it fail? So that's probably from, and I suppose also seeing new entries come through. And I think one of the things we've seen in the last 10 to 15 years is, and many of them have attended the events as a startup, and then now 5 years later, 10 years later, they're actually a very successful cash flow positive business in their market. So it's interesting to see there's not many industries that you can say that still happens within. And I think from, if you want to call us a supplier to the business, I think that's equally important to us, to be consistently at these events, to get visibility across what people are trying to apply to their business. Once again, what's worked and what hasn't. But I suppose being part of that conversation, so that not only can we see what they're doing, but apply what we're doing and share what we're doing and what others similarly have done with us and tried that maybe outside of the box, and then apply that to what they're trying to achieve.
Okay, one thing I'm interested in, obviously apart from presentations and learning what people are doing, etc., is we always go on about the networking. And before I'd personally been to Property Portal Watch, I'd obviously heard a lot about it. I was in the industry, but had never been. And it's quite striking how you'll turn up to one of these things and people seem to know each other. People from, like, I don't know, India, Australia, Uruguay, all these people just seem to know each other and get along really well. And they can all seem to learn from each other. They're all essentially doing the same stuff, right? James, you seem to be king of networking at these events. How important is it, not just to like hear what's going on in the industry, but also, meet people, meet these contacts?
And it may sound like an amazing promotional clip for you here, but
this is what we're going to use, by the way, for the clip. Whatever you say next is going to be the clip we use.
I'll take a breath and give you your 2 or 3 seconds. I've said it before, Ed, that this is the only conference that we're aware of, which is why we continue to support it, where you can get CEOs or C-suite in general of market leaders, startups, mid-level players in a market in one room over a 2 or 3 day period and see formal presentations, have one-on-one sessions with them in a sort of a formal business perspective, have lunch with them, have dinner with them, or go out and socially network with them and sort of let your hair down. And I think, there's none that we come across like that. And as you say, when you go and see them next year and their business has evolved or they've had some wins or successes and they want to share that with you again and compare notes versus last year, that's invaluable. So I would say, as a technology supplier to this ecosystem, if you like, if you want to play a part in this, it's a journey, and you really benefit significantly by coming along and playing a part in that.
Okay, I'm also interested, Simon, you set up Property Portal Watch, whatever it was, 15 years ago. I've heard you say it was just a few people in a basement in a hotel somewhere. Can you give us an idea of just how much has changed from 15 years ago to now? Like the names in the room, the number of people in the room, the deals that get made must have absolutely gone through the roof.
Sure. The first one was in 2009 in New York. We bolted it on to the Inman Conference, and it was held in a windowless room at some hotel. I don't remember which one it was now. In New York in the middle of winter. And I think we had about 32 people at that conference. Some have still come today. And, over that, and I paid for it, right? So it was free. We just did it for free because we got the room for free, and we did some drinks, and it was a one-day get-together. There was no real agenda. We just sort of shared war stories and so on. Now, today it is very different. The conferences we run in Bangkok are 2 full days, full production. We clearly have to charge for it because there's costs to go with it. We do full-blown evening events at nice hotels, rooftop bars in Bangkok because they are the great places to go to. And we'll have around 30 different sessions or presentations during that period of time, and it's all very well structured, organized. We record it all. We share the information with everyone afterwards. So it's moved dramatically in that period of time. Our major conference every year is our European conference, which we do in this sort of October, November timeframe. We'll get 400 odd people to that conference, and it's basically a 3-day event. And the value that I think is created not only for attendees but also for sponsors is enormous. And I was talking to one sponsor the other day who got 4 or 5 deals out of the Madrid event that we held in October last year. So I can only just recommend strongly that if you have a chance to come to the conference, whether you are a small startup just thinking about getting into the industry as a prop tech or in the property marketplace segment, then please come, right through to the large players who we have attend and are very happy to share what's happening in their part of the world, because they see as a way in which they can promote their business. I mean, we had CoStar with Andy Florence presenting in Madrid only 3 months ago, and that was a fantastic presentation, and we learned a lot about what CoStar's plans were, and then like 30 minutes later they ended up buying on the market in the UK. So I just encourage everyone to come on the 13th and 14th of March. Go to www.ppw24.com. That's www.ppwbangkok24.com, and register today. And we'd love to see you there.
All right, Simon, James, I'll see you in Bangkok in about 6 weeks' time. And yeah, I'm sure anyone who does come along and wants to meet James, he's a very friendly guy. You can just find him at the bar, and I'm sure he'll buy you all a drink.